The Hebrew text in the Bible has hidden formats. By revealing these formats, I will prove the first writer's words were hidden from you. These formats look like poetry as I group them into small paragraphs. Their grouping will become known as a psalm, and together they become psalms. Let me show you our Creator's 12 commandments, listed in Exodus chapter 20, verses 1 through 17. Any father of a family or his wife who did not obey any one of these 12 commandments, our Creator demanded they bring him a sin offering. Thus, our Creator defined the word sin as not obeying any one of these 12 commandments. Next, I want to show you how I changed one word in Exodus 26, verse 26, the word bars to arches, and the words now reveal the style of the roof for our Creator's tent for meeting with Him. Let me show you the translator's words from the preface of the 1611 King James Bible. They gave 4 reasons for themselves or others to edit the Bible's words. The red arrow at the top points to their 3rd reason to edit the text. By the light and feeling we attained unto ourselves. The next red arrow down points to them giving the title, the Divine, to a clerk named Gregory. The next block of words, they point out they were happy that the first emperor of Rome established the year to the course of the sun. Behind this text means Nebuchadnezzar ordered his kingdom to follow our Creator's calendar when he stopped eating grass. Did you notice the letter S in sun is capitalized? This is to give respect to the Egyptian sun god Ra. Have you seen the Egyptian obelisk in the Vatican's front yard? The last arrow points to your reward for studying the Bible. Your reward is to have a fellowship with the saints and participation of a heavenly nature that will never fade away. There is no such thing as nature to a truthful Christian. Our Creator created everything. By their own words, they were not seeking to know our Creator or Jesus. Not everyone has the knowledge to correct every word. I have an old Bible program that has the New American Standard Bible 1977 concordance to help find a better word. Their concordance has the number of times they use that English word in a parenthesis for that Hebrew word. The translators removed his name, YHVH, to put in 2 titles, Lord and God. I replaced those titles using the letters Y and V as his name, for the Hebrew language does not have a J, O, or W. By using these 2 letters, I am closer to the truth than anyone using J, O, or W for his name. So why is there a single letter O in the Hebrew text 1,095 times? No proper English was used? The blue highlighted text is text that I am removing. The red highlighted words are little words that I'm adding. Gray italic words are words that I added. To respect and honor our Creator, all capital letters in purple are our Creator's words. This is Jesus' prophecy, for I am revealing the first writer's words to tell you the true truths about Jesus. As the text is revealed, you can taste the writer's style of wording. Their words will take your belief to trusting our Creator. You will be watching prophecy before your eyes as I edit true truths back into their psalms. All right, this is going to be Nehemiah. And that might help. This is going to be Nehemiah. And what I'm looking for is text that refers to or talks about the returning to Jerusalem. So what I've got here, though, is a few things from Ezra and Zechariah. Now, the text that you see on the right-hand side has already got the formats, and there's a lot of text there, and it already tells us a lot. What's going to happen in Nehemiah is that a lot of this stuff is not true. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just go through here a few things and show you what I want to get rid of, because right now this text is starting out words of Nehemiah, and we don't need who he's from, or he's a son from, not of, from. And it happened, don't need the word now, it happened in the month. We don't need this, they didn't name their months. In the 21st, in the 20th year. Now, this is just wrong. Our Creator has a calendar count from the time they left Egypt. Now, to say that this is the 20th year, this can't be true. So I have to remove untruthful words here. And I was in Susa, the capital. Now, the funny thing here is what is it the capital of? And we don't have that information, okay, right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave that as yellow text. And this is that Hannah, one of my brothers, and what I'm looking for when I do these, I'm looking for, as you can see on the right-hand side, I'm looking mainly for one word here and one word here to complete the verse. But here I have a third word here. So the thing here is it gets a little bit, I try to remove as many as I can to get down to 2. Not saying all the time that I can get away with that, but that seemed to be the style that the first writers wrote in. So if I was to choose one, I would choose this word to get rid of and say this guy's name is Hannah, my brother, and some men from Judah. I don't need the word some. And men from Judah came and asked, came where? When I was in Susa. So they came to Susa. Okay, now I can see that if I use this word here and go like this, and then I have to add to me. Now, I do this to say that I'm going to add it, and when I remove the text or clean the text up, the italic words are the words that I've had to add. The italic words that you see in fuchsia are words that were added in 1977. This is the 1977 NSAB. And you've seen in the intro is why I use this is because I have a concordance that can help me find a better word that people can't complain that I just made that word up because it would be a choice that they didn't use. But if I'm adding a word completely outside the shadow of the meaning of the word, then I make that gray text. So some of that you'll see on the right-hand side, and the stuff that you see highlighted in yellow is going to mean that I still have questions of those words. Now, when it comes up to Zechariah, when you see that in the red, that is to help blend that book into Ezra. So pretty soon I'll be adding the words that you see out of Zechariah into Ezra, and I will start building the story up. Or all the story of the return. Okay. I asked them concerning Now, Jews, they're the ones that are onto another god and goddess. So never ever they left in existence. Our Creator said that He was going to kill off those, and those that He felt that would be obedient to Him, He left them or made them as captives, or they fled, or they were known as a remnant. So the ones that would be returning that you're seeing on the right-hand side, they are survivors. The ones that will be from Egypt will be the escapees, or those that fled or escaped. Escapees. And then the ones that are left on the promised land are going to be known as the remnant. But I can't have Jews because they were killed off. I asked them concerning who had escaped and survived. Now, I'm not seeing here who had escaped and survived. Survived the captivity. Now, that's kind of an odd word to be saying here. Because of the fact is that's what they were called when they left. Those were captives. So the captives would have been in this city. So why is he asking about those in this city? That's supposed to be a capital city. Who had escaped and survived. This doesn't make any sense. He would have known that they wouldn't have had the names of everybody. So who had escaped or survived as a remnant. Did I spell that right? Seems like I have. Now what I got to do is I'm going to take this word, copy it, and and replace the word captivity, because the survivors are known as the captives. So, but when he's asking about those who had survived, or those that they had known, this guy knew who had survived. This would have been the remnant. So it might have been his brother come from those who had and I asked them, who are them? I asked him, because I got rid of, and some men came. Okay, wait a second. My brother Hannah and some men from Judah. Now this has got to be all small caps. When I do this, trying to help the reader out by knowing whether they're good or bad, usually I do this, that it shows that they're bad. If this would be a capital J, then in all caps, that would have been the nation Judah, and that would have been the good guys. But this is representing the bad guys. Or it was because that's our Creator felt it was bad, that's why He sent them away. Now, this is strange because they knew where he was at and how they could come back and talk to him. Now, when I was telling people before that these aren't really slaves when they're there, that were in Babylon. So the thing here is it would be hard for me to say that he could be found by someone that was left as a remnant from the land, because what he's asking them is this question about who had escaped or survived as a remnant, and about Jerusalem. Well, he already would have known about Jerusalem, because on the way there, in the years that they were there, everybody would have known how it was burnt and destroyed, and even the house for our Creator. And notice that he's not concerned about the house for our Creator. He's worried about Jerusalem, which makes it a little bit false. And they said to me, the remnant and they didn't say, they told me, because he's asking for a reply. He asked and they told. So let's get the right word here. They told me the remnant Now, when it says great distress, they weren't in great distress. For the simple fact, they were the ones that were onto our Creator. Our Creator blesses them, and by protecting them. That was the prophets. Jeremiah was guiding them. And when they they wanted to flee to Egypt because they figured the Arabs on the other side of the Jordan River, the east side, would come and start killing them. And our Creator told them to stay there. And as long as they stayed there, he was going to leave them as the remnant. So this verse is against what our Creator has told us, how he's going to take care of them. And the walls of Jerusalem is broken down. The walls of Jerusalem for Jerusalem, not of Jerusalem, for Jerusalem, are if I can go through and start straightening up the smaller words, it helps. Are broken down. Are broken down. Okay. Because right here, if this is talking about Jerusalem, and that would be the reply. So these words are needed. And then that would make this a 4-verse grouping. And as you see to the right, a lot of the text is a 4-verse grouping. Okay. And if I put his brother's name in here, I start building up a better 4-verse sentence, because every one of them can't talk at one time. Oops. So if I replace that with the name, told me, a remnant remained, or just as that there was some there. A remnant is there. okay, is there. Now, this would not be known as a providence. Babylon wasn't, they owned the area, true, but they didn't go through there and they just put governors down there, whether they called them provinces. I don't think that's needed here in this verse. But the object is that they are there. He told me, comma, and this verse goes with that verse. Now, I don't need this because then he's talking about Jerusalem. And the walls for Jerusalem are broken down. Okay. And I'm going to change the word walls to homes because I know the story, and the story is, and this is what I mean by the shadow of the word. I'm not saying that I made this. They're just using, they aren't speaking the truth here because for Jerusalem was burned with fire. And that's what's true out of this whole statement here. And the homes for Jerusalem were burned with fire. Yeah, with fire, which would have been true. Now that we've got the truthfulness of the sentence, because we don't need to know about the gates, okay? But the object here is we got a 4-verse and a 4-verse, and here I'm not seeing a 4-verse except for the words of Nehemiah. Because it happened in the month. This doesn't make any sense. In the year, I was in words from Nehemiah. I was in Susa, the capital. And Anna, my brother. So this would be a comma here. This would be a period here. Now, I could have this wrong because this could be a statement of who's doing this. And then these, would it be better as these to say as the first group? I was in Susa, the capital, and Hannah, my brother, and some men from Judah came to me. Although I don't know how they got there, okay? I really don't see it. And I will do that as saying this is a period, and then this is a group, and then this is a group, and then this is a group. I better save that right now. Now, I forgot to look over and see. Okay. Gotta check. They want the bit rate up. Now that's a problem because I keep doing that. I can't. Okay. That's my problem, I guess. Now this seems to be, and it came about when I heard these words. I sat down and wept and mourned for days. Now this is stupid for the simple fact that they would have known this on the way there. The captives would have been talking. they would have known that they were all taken. So they would have known it was destroyed. So this is just untruthfulness here. And fasted and praying before the God of heaven, they don't know the name and they're using a title. I think that's wrong. It's just not truthful. Now here he's like, I beseech you, my Lord, God of heaven. It was a great and awesome God who preserves the covenant and love kindness of those who love him and keep his commandments. Now, this is going to his praying. So I need this, but then I prayed. So let's do this. Say I need all this, adding this. Then, oops, I'm adding this. Then I prayed, ED. Don't need that. Prayed. 2. And I will just say that this word needs to be wivy. Okay. So wivy. And you can't say I beseech you. I said I beseech you. That you got to have the text saying what he prayed, and the word prayed means to talk to our Creator. So when I'm saying then I prayed to Wivey, who he doesn't preserve the covenant. And you wouldn't say who, you'd say you. When you're talking to our Creator, you make it personal. So you, well, I'm just going to put this as a yellow word here. Preserve your, it's not covenant. It's his promises. They started out as an everlasting covenant when he talks to Abraham. But you have to understand there's promises, 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 promises that makes this covenant up. So it's the promises that they know. So it's not a covenant. It's his everlasting promises. And I get rid of one of these two words. And kindness, this would have to be a comma, and this is going to be a period. And your kindness is for, or is to, well, is to Your kindness is to it's not those. Your love kindness is to whom? Whom? And this has nothing to do with it. Whom keeps. I need yours again. Your commandments. Now that's true because that is the agreement that our Creator made with them in the Sinai to say that you always obey the 12 commandments. You will always, because of all the promises he made, was you will be atoning for these commandments that you don't, so you'll be forgiven to enter into heaven. You are also, the promise was that if you obeyed them and as a majority, then you would not be sent away into captivity. So this is very important to understand the agreement that the commandments are about. Let your ears, not just one ear, he's got two. Let your ears hear me. Remember, their vocabulary wasn't real big, so I know that this word is just stuck in. So I didn't turn my computer on today, but this is within the shadow of the word, so that's kind of what I mean by I'm just saying I'm replacing the word. Let your ears hear me. See, now here it is. And if I take that out, get rid of this, hear the prayer of your servant. Period. This is not true. This is not needed. That's just double. Praying before you night and day. This is said wrong. It's night and daylight. So I don't need this. On behalf of this has to be descendants. We have to include women here. Descendants. On behalf of the descendants. From now, the good people are known as Israelis. The Jews are the bad. The Israelis I've got noted as they are the good people, knowing that when you read that, you know that they are the ones unto our Creator, and they are his servants because they're obedient. And then that would be a period. Now, he cannot confess their sins. He cannot do that. He can talk about their sins, but he can't do that. And I don't see the sins mentioned. If you don't know what a sin is, it's related to the commandments. You needed to bring a sin offering for the not obeying one of the 12 commandments. So right there, you should always know that there are only 12 sins. So when you see the word sin, that's the meaning. You have to look up those 12, and you've seen them listed in the beginning. So you wouldn't know, you wouldn't say that. But you would be saying something like this. We have acted rebellious. So do I need, we were we didn't acted. We were rebellious against you. And actually it was not it the ones that were left were powerless. The ones that took over were in power and started changing the laws, being very corrupt. Because if they didn't do all these, and there's no such thing as an ordinance, by the way, this would be laws, then they would have been the evil ones. So this and this, no. And I'm trying to see if the text is saying that they're going to be sent away, because that's the agreement. If they didn't, when they were rebellious against him, this means they weren't always doing all the things that they should be doing. So which you don't even need this word here. This would have to be by not remembering your words, and not this. I see the word I'm looking for. You commanded us. Oops. Not we, they. And this has to be the word for here. Why I'm saying this, he's got to be saying that's why they were taken away for, oops, for our own people, our for ours were. And this is, I'm just trying to make you understand that he's praying for those because these did what they did. Because what I've got here is a group of people that didn't obey him and didn't listen to his commands. So for ours were rebellious against you. And that was those going on to the female goddess in God Ra. So Ashereth and is the female goddess name, and Ra is the sun god. And the moon god is the moon goddess is Ashereth. That's his daughter. See, that's the promise right here, saying, it wasn't saying, it would have to be you said, because it's part of the, you have to go all the way back to Exodus and understand what the text is saying here. For it is his agreement is what he said to them. So you said, if we are unfaithful, it's a poor word to be used right now, but I guess I'll use it. If we are unfaithful, I will see. He was talking. See, the sentence here now wants to say our Creator. So let me put him in again here then. You will, because this was his words, will scatter us. And not scatter us, you will send us. You'll send us. And it doesn't matter, it just has to be away. So this is the word I need to add, because to be among the others, that's just, they would have been taken into captives, but you will send us away is the truthful what he said long ago. And that's 4 verses. But if you return to me and keep my commandments, do them, I will gather them from there. He did say he was going to gather them, but that's back to Jerusalem. But that was only the prophets at the very end when he was telling them that he's going to send them into captivity, but they will return. So this isn't the truthful words here of what are the intent of the words. None of this, keep my commandments and do them. In this, no, that is all not true. Now, and this is not to make his name dwell there. It's to fulfill his promises that he made about Jesus coming, okay, to Jerusalem. Um, or us keeping, that's not keeping, it's obeying. Obeying your commandments, comma, or us obeying your commandments. And what I'm thinking here is I'm trying to remember that the obedient ones that went into captivity would have known about his promise because they were listening to the prophets, and it would have been discussed with them on the way there that yes, the prophet have said that we're heading back. So I'm going to need although here. Although we, oops, although we have been scattered, which means that they know that they ran to Egypt. They're scattered as remnant, and they're up in scattered in Babylon. So okay, that works. I'm trying to make it as truthful as I can by all the knowledge that I have. So although we have been scattered, this doesn't need to be here. So I got to find text that's going to be truthful here. This has to be Jerusalem. Because they knew that Jesus was going to enter Jerusalem. So what they figured is that his house is going to be there in Jerusalem. And I'm going to need the word you again here. You will gather, and not them. He can't be talking about third person. He's got to be talking about himself. You will gather us, because it'll be the group that's talking about those that are still obeying our Creator here up above. You will gather us from, it's got to be wherever. Okay, so that, not from there, from wherever. And bring, whoops, us, this word right here, and bring us to Jerusalem. Now that's the truth. Now that's what his prophecy is about. Now I've got him saying the right words. They were there. I just had to dig them out. Okay. Now this has already been said, so this doesn't need to be here. This doesn't need to be here. This doesn't need to be here. Okay. Now is this continuing? Because that's really the end. The promise is that you're there. I put for us to be your servants. For us to be your servants as a people. Because they can't be saying it's going to be a nation. They're under a king. So, but that would be continuing the story. For us to be your servants as a people. Whom you will, and it's not redeem. Redeem is the act of your soul out of being redeemed out of the abyss. That's what I've got the word. But to deliver from your enemies. whom you will deliver. So this is now right. Whom you will deliver by your great power and by your strong hand. Okay, now this is what he was doing up in Babylon. Remember, when Nebuchadnezzar woke up eating grass, he knew that there was a creator. And I think the words were, he is God of all gods. But that's a pagan trying to come to a grip on how to tell his people. But you got to remember, there's a lot of things that Daniel did, and some walked in fire, came out untouched. How Daniel was in the lion's den, come out perfect. So this is almost what I would say is words coming from Daniel, or another prophet that's in Babylon. So, okay, this was because this here is going to say the king was going to send them back. Okay, now here I'm going to tell you that the words that you're seeing on the right-hand side, that's telling somebody was coming back with the utensils with a decree from a king. And when they got there, they had a problem, and those people sent to the king who had been replaced by the king that sent them, and they're coming back, and he gets all excited and says, no, build it. And he understands now all the story of what happened with Nebuchadnezzar and why they were sent back. So because he blesses, or he tells them and grants them all kinds of money, telling people to stay away, giving the edict to behave and let them rebuild his house in Jerusalem. So none of this can be true, because now he's going to tell them, I was a cupbearer to the king, and this is just nothing here, because right here is a good ending. Okay, now this is not true, because I'm telling you, you can take a look at the text and you can take screenshots and you'll see that information. And he's not going to send them there by him having a sad face, okay? There had to be a reason why. And it's more or less like Daniel was sent back, okay? Because he was definitely a prophet, being a prophet for the king of Nebuchadnezzar and his son and whoever was in next in power. And that's why when you read about Daniel in the lion's den, then you realize that text of that king being aware of everything that's happened would have been the ones that said, okay, send them back. Now, the text does not say in Daniel that he was told, but if you look at the text on the right-hand side, somewhere in that text, it does talk about the king was told to rebuild Jerusalem. So that's why I'm using that text. In this text, I'm trying to find other parts that talk about it. or trying to figure out what's going on here with this text. And right now, I know that I've got a good grip on what's going on here. So let me do a cleanup here of the text just to show you what I've got here. If I come down here and put this like this, and I hope my macros work today because it's a long one. And let's see if it actually works. Hey, that disappears. Nope. That text was supposed to disappear here. So somewhere there was something here that gave a problem. So let me try it again. There, it cleaned it up. Now, getting rid of all the spacing out of there. And you can start seeing how these are going to be grouped together. You can see how the 4 verse just appears. And that's what's so unique when you see it. And you're wondering, how did I do such a good job of making the story complete? Well, it's a matter of the words that I know that need to be put together. But right here, now let's see how well they hook together as this paragraph here hooks to this paragraph. Okay, now this seems that it needs to be separated. So this is what needs to be separated. This one here, asked concerning, and then he told. Asked and told, that's how they get connected. So there's a group of text up here that they're putting in the prophet's name, Nehemiah, and saying this story here. But this is most likely still got to be questioned. But then this and this prayed, and he's asking him to hear. Okay, and then 2 spaces. Now these two have to connect together. Send them away, and us, yes. For us obeying, we're going back. Ours were rebellious, did not remember, and these are obeying. It's kind of a group that would be put together. But these two work better. So somewhere it's telling me that this would have been the storyline that's missing here is going to be how they went into captivity, or where they're at, or something like that. So I'm just going to say that this is the missing one here. Okay. Now there should be 2 spaces like this. Two spaces, 1 space. There should be 1 space. Yep. 2. And here this group, I know, needs to be put above here. Oops. Here. So the story is starting out. Words from Nehemiah, and then some of this. Okay. And to make it look great, and keep with my format. Oops, save that. Now that looks really good, and we do have some words. Now, let's take a look at what's going on here. Because, where's the stuff that I'd thrown out here? Oh, man. Up there for the king. See, I know that there's something here because I missed that. Oh, man. How do I go back here? Okay, well, you've seen how it cleaned up. Now I just got to see if I got enough here to get rid of all that. And do I have like a 300 there? That's what was missing right here. Okay, and I did take a lot of that out, but you got to see what what the text is above it. Okay, so anyways, long story. Let's get on with the rest of it. But you see how the text is going together. Now that took 1 hour. Well, less than 1 hour. Now, let me see what the text is here, because when I went through this, a lot of this is not necessarily needed, because this guy is talking about the king and he's sad and his father, and this is why they're being returned. And it wasn't our Creator made himself known like he did in Egypt. So with that, I would request, this guy is so powerful, he requested, and then the kings, if it pleases the kings, found favor, send me to Judah, and that I may rebuild it. Well, the thing here is our Creator's words in the text you see on the right side. It was prophesied that he's going to do this. So this can't be true. You'd be making our Creator a liar. So this is not true. And any of this definite time, how long is it going to take you to build it? Like you don't know the destruction and going to ask that kind of a stupid question. And then he's going to give them a pass to go through. And we have on the other side a decree by 2 different kings, or king and then another king backing it up from Babylon, or Persia. The next one, it's kind of not. It was like Babylon, and then a second Babylon king, and then Persia. So, but let the letter keep king. Yeah, you'll find that they went and got the cedars from Lebanon, not the deal here. This is the reason why he got to go, because the queen granted to me, because of the good hand of the Lord, the good hand of God was on him. Then I came to the governors beyond the rivers and gave the king's letters. And no, that's not true. The story on the right tells more, although you'll find that that word or that name, it might be in that text. Now, this is also taking from that other text about the argument they're having about rebuilding. But there's a longer story about that group writing a complaint to Cyrus, King Cyrus, and I think that's from Persia. Then he finds out by the Israelis that are down there, the governor for them sent their letter, and then it was their text, or then he found out the answer and then told them guys to go. So there's like 2-3 groups of text. I mean, a very long story of this going back and forth and what was in their letters. So that's very important to pay attention to what's on the side here. And now he kept it secret that he was going to rebuild the place. So what he was going to do to Jerusalem, but I came to Jerusalem all by myself, is what it's only, and a few men with me. Now, that isn't bringing home the survivors coming back. So, and then here, they're just rebuilding gates all over the place. Okay. So these gates really don't exist. So all this knowledge here or wording is just false. And the rest did the work. Now he's got a bunch of people working, yet on the other text, the priests were assigned by, that was the prophet that was left in the land, was to greet them coming down and tell them first order of business is to assign the priest. Then you guys can start working. So that is very important because it even tells them how it's got better text than any of this. Yeah, see, now this is argument rebellion against the king, but they ask them what they're doing, and it says, because we were sent here by the king. So that story is wrong. And no portion of building it with it. That was in the other text, but I got rid of that. Because the Arabs wouldn't be asking to help. Now see, there's a sheep gate. There's a fish gate. What were the other gates? There was a valley gate, a fountain gate, a refuge gate, a valley gate. They got 2 valley gates. But there are something like 28 gates that are going to get rebuilt here. So this is just wrong. And it's really meaningless of who did the work. It's not meaning enough for us today who built it or who built what. And all this, again, we got now an old gate. So, now these 2 cities are very important because this city is where they were at as like the remnant main city became this place here. So, then he's going to fix the seat for the governor. They had no governor's seat. They had king's seats down there. So somewhere here about repairing the king's gate. And beyond the river would mean south of the Dead Sea, because the Jordan River goes into the salty lake, or the Dead Sea as we know it today, but it's actually the salty lake because it had fresh water going in there. And I believe that it was a salt mine that water got into and dissolved all the salt to become this great big lake. Now we have goldsmiths and perfumers to restore Jerusalem. Now, you know that that's all just garbage. Who made repairs? Opposite made repairs. The other side, they made repairs. And then there's the Tower of Furnace here, okay? And here's something good. Moab. Moab was killed off. They were blotted out, okay, as one of the Psalms say. They blotted them out. That means they killed the women, children, and animals as well, because they were having sex with animals, each other, incest, and all that. So that is the polite word for our Creator saying it was unclean. So now we have his daughters working repairs. Now that's something. Another valley gate and a refuge gate again. How many? You must have 2 or 3 of these places. And it's a fountain gate again. And descended from the city of David. We know that that's David built Jerusalem, or established Jerusalem. Opposite the tombs of David, and has an artificial pool in the house of mighty men. I don't think so. After the Levites carried out repairs. No. The story you see on the right-hand side, you take a very good look at it, because this is just, I think all this text is going out, because we don't even need to know any of this. The angle of the doorway to the house, what house? Of Ishmael the high priest. Wow. And now from the end of his house, carried out the repair of the valley, the men of the valley. You know how many valleys there are in the hilly country? Okay. And carried out by his house. And this is not needed. This is not needed. Now we have temple servants. There's no such thing as temple servants. They had assistants. The priest had assistants, probably 2, okay, each. But the object here is there's no such thing as temple. And they live in an opal. All the priests lived in Jerusalem. And when it was a tent, it was near Shiloh. The city Shiloh was the place where the priest stayed the night and lived until their term was done. And then they went away to live in this. Now we have a horse gate. We have an east gate. Now we have an inspection gate. We have another sheep gate. Again, all this is not needed. See, offer sacrifices. The person who's writing this does not understand the difference. The sacrifice was the goat or ram, or the doves. But then the muscles from the animals, which showed the action, of the sin was to be offered up to, and it was more or less like a symbol that when it goes up and smoke disappears, our Creator has forgiven you and He's not going to count that against you. So, and the Amorite, these guys died over 1,000 years ago before this. The Moab and Ammons, they were blotted out. So, no, they don't all of a sudden appear except for in the text. No, this is not true. Demoralize the this is just that's when you see these stories, and you make sure you read the other side, or what makes sure you do that. Here, they're all over there. They're called Amorites, but the funny thing is, the Arabs had their own language, and it was just starting, and it's known as Aramaic at that time, and it wasn't very good yet, because this text is taking place about 200 years before Jesus comes. So day and night is not, see, the writer doesn't know that our Creator time is from the sun going over the horizon or disappearing on the horizon. That little twilight, that's in night, and then daylight is a day, and then it repeats. So they don't even know how day and night. It should have been night and day. And they're rebuilding a wall. Now, actually, let me show you some text here. And this is from Zechariah. This was a prophecy. This was a vision they had with an angel. And here he's got this guy going out to measure Jerusalem, how wide it is and how long it is. But the angel interrupts him and tells him Jerusalem will be inhabited without walls. So you can't make our Creator a liar by saying all of a sudden these guys are going to build up the walls, rebuild the wall. The walls were down, and what they most likely did was used them to start making homes with. So it was rubble by then. Lowest part of the space behind exposed place I stationed people. The story that I'm getting rid of there has a better story on the other side, and it just covers it a little bit. I'm not going to add this text into that other text. I'm just going to say there's enough on the other side, but they are trying to copy and make more of it out of this story in here, because I really believe Nehemiah is completely made up, and he was never really a prophet. They just gave him a name and said this is the text, because so much is so untruthful. Because there's prophets that I will not use at all when I'm putting these together. I'm thinking in our creators hidden formats, I did use some of this text and completed the other story on the other side. But I'm not going to do that here. And our God will fight for us. No, that's not true at all. This argument, I don't think, needs to be in this list of the problems that they had. I know that this is in our Creator's everlasting promises because it came out as text and I put it together, but I'm not going to do it here. It's not important enough here to add as a quick story, because all the text that I'm doing right now to show you the hidden formats is just to show you that it can be found and the stories can be put together as a truthful story that they corrupted. Okay? So there's a lot of missing text. I mean, a whole bunch of text that I know that there's like 300 years of judges that are missing. Okay? So all the judges from the time of Joshua to Eli are all missing. In fact, well, that's for another day. They didn't have nobles yet. They can't because they're not kings anymore. Not needed. I was appointed their governor in the land of Judah. Here they're adding that 20th year and 32nd year of our. They're saying they're tying it to this king here. This guy is actually the king in Egypt. Okay, pay attention to the text on the other side, because that's how Ezra got back. Like I said, they're using a lot of pieces here that are actually truthful text that I've already got done. This is not needed. Oh, now there's going to tell him how much food was prepared for him. Big deal. Not needed. So here it's rebuilt the wall, and it's not true. This is just an untruthful story here. Like I said, a lot of this is just made up text. Although I can see parts of it go in depth and more in detail in some areas, but they just aren't important to us. Or for those after me. Council together, all of a sudden I got a king down here. Where did I just see the word king? Report the king according to the reports. Now come let us counsel together. Anyways. Now, see, it doesn't have no word of a decree or the names of the kings other than the king that I know is from Egypt. And you can't, as I go into the temple to save his life, priests could only go in there, and it's not a temple. A temple is where you put um, a false god idol there. And he can't prophesy. A pagan can't prophesy. They'd give oracles. And a prophetess, there's no such. Women are not prophets. I don't care what you're thinking, they just don't exist. This is not important to us, not needed. Well, now it frightened him what happened when he was encouraged by our Creator. How many gatekeepers, how many singers? That's just a lie. This is not needed. Now we finally have Nebuchadnezzar being mentioned. The exiles whom Nebuchadnezzar had carried away, took away, who returned to Jerusalem, each in his own city. This name I have used as David's name on the other side, or Daniel's name. So all this now, this is returning, like I said, is also from that other text, but given in more detail on the other text. And this, just all these names here don't mean nothing to us. And this don't need as well. Well, let's see how far I've gotten today and how many hours. Okay, that took 30 minutes. Now we have a Watergate. Front of the Watergate again. Now we have Ezra's name. Now, Ezra is not that important because they've already established Jerusalem and they've already established the king, although he is a scribe here, Ezra the scribe. I made sure he was a scribe on the other text as well. They had him as a priest, but you can't have a priest because you don't have a house for our Creator. So, and actually, as we're blessed, you can't bless our Creator. That's just funny. And you can't bless each other, by the way. So, and a lot of this was talking about, as in Ezra, when they gathered in Egypt, they found that they were intermarrying with other races when they were in Egypt for those 40 years. So, yes, they had a problem and they solved the problem. And that, like, these people are not smart. They're like they can't read and write. Although many people on Israel. Look, they've been talking to scribes. The people had scribes. The people would have learned how to read and write long ago. So they wouldn't have forgotten how to read and write. Um, this day is holy. Don't they know which day is holy or not? You cannot proclaim a holy day other than what our creators decided. That's the first day of the week, by the way. And you don't grieve on a holy day. You're supposed to be discussing with your children and teaching your children about our creator and what he's done for them. That they might gain insight into the words. They were obedient. They learned, they knew, they all knew what was right and wrong. And bring olive branches and wild olive branches, myrtle branches, palm branches, and leafy branches to make booths, as it is written. No, that is just a lie. They always since um, Noah's day, they always lived in tents, and they could have also made stick houses that are really can be really made easily from branches. There would have been plenty of them to be able to make, but a booth out of leafy plants, there's no way you can live in that. In the courts of the house, there's only one courtyard. Oh, they all made court roofs on their house. Each roof and in their courts and the courts of the house. Yeah. Um, Actually, our Creator told them this, that it's the first day of the year is the Passover day, and the day before it is the preparation day. And then in the Sinai, he told them to celebrate it for not only that day, for the next 7 days. So it's actually 8 days in total. But we already got that text. It's more truthful. And this isn't really needed here. You don't, what are they confessing? They don't need to confess nothing. Fasting is nothing. Sackcloth is nothing. Sackcloth, you put that on, is the king would do that to humble himself before our Creator. People would do that in mourning. Okay. So and I don't know what they cried out to the Lord for with a loud voice for. All blessing and praise. Your glorious name be blessed and exalted above all blessings and praise. They don't understand the definition of our Creator blesses us. We cannot bless anybody. They brought him out of Ur. This is just, when you read our Creator's everlasting, I explain how the land is already in, everything was in the promised land. Everything. Okay. Where Noah landed, how the Canaans were there, how Shem's land was by the son's orders, and then you have Japheth's at the bottom. And actually, all those people that you hear that are so terrible are actually descendants from Abraham, from Noah, the Canaanites. Uh, this is nothing. This is just rehashing stuff that isn't true. Here's another word, Pharaoh. When no, you know that Noah knew his name, and Aaron knew his name because he could get him into the palace. Just walk right in when he needed to see him. So this is just a rehash. That's not needed. And the fourth water, the rock. Oh, this is fourth. Oh, 13. Um, committed great blasphemies. Well, actually, our Creator didn't define what blasphemy is. Blasphemy is cursing our Creator. So that's what blasphemy is. When you learn, they weren't out there for 40 years. This king never existed. This is coming into the promised land, and cisterns, there was so much spring water coming up in the land. Only until today that we don't have a lot of springs coming up. Probably maybe for the last maybe 1,000 years. But at that time, water was coming up because when you look at the land of where Jordan is today, how high it is where it rains, that water seeping down, and it's like, I think, 1,000 feet below the top of the very hills in Israel, that this water was seeped, and it was seeped this way to go into where, it's finding its level. So there would have been a lot of water coming here to fill up, to have a lot of springs in in Israel at the time when they went in, and probably from the time before, all the way from Noah's time. This is just a rehash that isn't needed. None of this is needed. I'm looking for text that specifically talks about, because all this is already in Exodus and coming into the promised land, more detailed. No, Zedekiah, that is a king's name, but as you can see, this is just leaders' names that are not needed. Gatekeepers, how many gatekeepers can you have? Well, you're going to find out that they got hundreds of them down here when it's listed. There was no singers, there's no servants. Um, This is just. When I was starting to divide this out this morning, I knew that was going to be a rough one here. So, let's see here. Just they're adding to some of the stories that aren't truthful there. Yeah, see now they're starting to add. You got to give them food for the priest. You gotta um, give them animals. No, all this stuff. There's chambers through the house of God to the chambers of the storehouses. No such thing. There is no such thing. This is just absolutely. In fact, these tithes, no, they could give donations if they wanted to, and that was to help, say, like needing for the rebuilding of the house, or fixing the wood or stuff like that. But there's no tithes. Tithes they brought in so these guys can, who are writing this text and not obeying our Creator anyway, so they have free money that you're giving them to live on. So, and it's been billions over the years, and they've lied to you for so long. These old names don't mean nothing. Now we have a second in command of the city. What happened to the governor? And the workers, they were the priests that were supposed to, the Levites did the work. This is all wrong. I'm just scanning through. I'm a Thanksgiving. There's no such thing. Keep watch at the gates were 172 exactly. But they got like 28 gates, so I guess they might have a problem there. But they didn't have gates because there's no walls no more. So, yeah, they're just adding junk, more junk, more junk. Need these names. So I don't know if I'm going to even use what I've got. Finally, the Darius, the Persian. Now that's the king from Persia, not the Persian. Okay. No, he was the king of, he's the one that sent them down, and it wouldn't have been Persia. In the book of the Chronicles were supposed to be um, the order of the kings, the chronicling of the kings and what they did. Just to give you an understanding that they did have certain books. So, but the Chronicles and Kings, that's what those books were about. See, now Nehemiah is not writing anymore. They just got him now as a governor, and Ezra is now a priest, but he wasn't. This is just. Now we get back to the gates again. These names of people don't mean nothing. Well, the old gate shows up, the gate of the guard, the sheep gate, the fish gate, the gate of Ephraim now, an old gate, a water gate, a fountain gate. You get the idea of a lot of false text here. They performed worship and purification together with the singers. Man, so much is so wrong. When I was reading through it, I'm kind of wondering what happened to the text here, what I did on the numbers. So, because I've got to check that out. So, what I'm going to do is, because you can see that I did something with the numbers here, and I don't know what I did. Oops. But I've got to check that out, and I think, yeah, see how it changes to 11. So I don't know, that's 100 and I don't know what I did. But I got to recheck all this. But the household goods out of the room, I mean, cleanse the room and the utensils for the house. Um, if you keep following me, and please do, and learn what I'm teaching, you'll find that this stuff doesn't make any sense. Because what rooms are they talking about? Inside the house where they'd keep the utensils for our Creator? Well, there's a 20 by 20 room that's called the meeting room for our Creator. And then the other side that's left is 20 by 40. And that is got cabinets on the side where the utensils are kept, the priest's robes are kept, their horns are kept. So how can there be rooms? Okay. Grain offerings, there's no such thing. We only know about sin offering. The whole house and priests were set up with the altars is nothing about but to atone for your not obeying our Creator's 12 commandments. So that's the whole reason why his tent was made and his house was made. All this other stuff is just not true. In their storehouses now, their storehouses. Um, anyways, I'm about to the end. Okay, here's funny. These people that have long been dead for hundreds of years are now back still marrying them. Where'd they come from? They killed them off. You think they're going to return under their own name? They went and lived in another kingdom and get called by another kingdom's name. Oh, yep. Finally, the end. And you know what? I'm not even going to care where the text went or whatever happened in my numbering. I really don't. It is all junk except for up at the top. This is the only thing that I've got out of Nehemiah. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on another. Whoops. Yeah. Better go get that. copyright stuff here. Okay. I'm going to paste this. And this is the only text that actually is true out of this one here. And I don't know how I can even use some of this stuff. Because right now, off the top of my head, and what I've already done, I know that this is not going to go with any of the text anywhere I know. Oh, I hate that. Okay. Um, okay. The words from Nehemiah. I don't think I need that. And then I was in Susa, the capital, which I don't think is true. So I need that still in yellow. And some men from Judah came to me and asked me concerning who had escaped or survived the remnant, and about Jerusalem. Oh yeah, this is where I have to say that's the space. There's missing text up there. And I prayed to I'm going to clean this up, and I will show you if I find a place for it, or I'll just stick it somewhere in the text and leave it as a question mark. But that's what's going to happen with this text. So, but that's what I've got in first writers formats, but I just don't know how true it is and if it's actually in the capital city. Because it talked about the king from Egypt that I mentioned, maybe these would have come from Ezra. Maybe I would be able to stick this with Ezra. I have to go through here and look at more what's going to, because if they escaped, they wouldn't know it was burned with fire. Okay. And then I'd have to change this to be us who had escaped. and those that survived as a remnant. But I'm not sure where this text goes, because when the text goes someplace, then I have to edit it again. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to see if this could be something about Ezra before, because it's surely not Nehemiah. Okay. Nehemiah can't, I mean, they were trying to make him as the one coming back to rebuild, and he didn't. So the best I can say right now is Ezra. But if I can't find it, I don't know where I would even stick this. Anyways, all done for right now, and I'll talk to you later.